Welcome to a very special episode of Benny's Custom Works. Today we're going to be working on this Lexus Toyota Harrier four-wheel drive thing. I've already started pulling it apart. We've actually got the valve body out of the transmission. Some of you guys may or may not already be aware, we're repairing vehicles for people in fire affected areas. Obviously this isn't normally what we're working on, but this is a pretty special cause and we're trying to help out our local community. There's fires everywhere. Like a lot of the east coast of Australia is on fire. The west coast is on fire. South Australia is on fire. So at the moment, we're only currently helping New South Wales guys, mainly for rego reasons, but we are looking at branching out into other states. So far, we've got about 6 families back on the road. This will be the 7th one, as long as the transmission repair goes to plan. Yeah, we're just taking a bit of time off race cars and fast stuff to try and get some people back on the road. We wouldn't be able to do this without the support of Spares Box. They've been fantastic. They've sent us tons of parts whenever we need it. Obviously, this is the first thing we've filmed, but we've actually already repaired 5 cars. Hayes Cranes have donated some money for us to buy other things, including paying for rego, tyres, things like that. Oxytec powder coatings have been the same, and Veloce Supercar Transport have also helped us out. So thanks to all of those guys for jumping on board this special project. It's actually only a 10-minute drive from Benny's Custom Works HQ to fire-affected areas. So where we originally built the Cresta, with Paulie, his property's been pretty badly burnt. Luckily, him and his family are all safe. His shed's safe. Most of his cars survived. Unfortunately, there were some casualties, but for the most part, they've fared pretty well. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for some of his neighbours. Some of those guys have lost sheds or homes or both. Some people I know have even lost their home and their business, so they're kind of in the middle of nowhere at the moment. We've also got Wingelow, which is only about 20 k's south of us here. They're in the same boat, heaps of fires in that area. And then obviously further down the south coast, basically from Nowra all the way past Bateman's Bay is one massive fire that's burnt through that area. So yeah, there's going to be tons of people in need in the next couple of weeks to months for cars. Also, anyone in New South Wales, if you do have a car lying around you don't have a use for, reach out to us. We may or may not be able to use it. Kind of the criteria are nothing over $500 because we're sort of trying to spread the money around as far as we can. Must have current New South Wales rego. Even if it's a month or less, it's a lot easier to put a little bit more rego on it than have to go on blue slip cars. Auto preferably at the moment. We do have a few manual cars here. This is the last auto car we've got. That's why we're kind of going to the end of the earth to try and repair this sucker. But yeah, I'm having fun actually fixing these cars too. It's something different. We're not a workshop, as most of you guys probably know. We're not a retail workspace. This is basically an area for us to work on our own cars. But when I came up with this idea, it was like, let's use this space to help the community, not just to help ourselves and make some videos. So, as I said, we've already repaired 5 cars. This will be the 6th. We've actually got one dropped off today as well. Another fella dropped off an Impreza for us. So we may actually do a bit of work to that after we've finished with this Lexus Harrier Toyota-y thing. But yeah, stay tuned for the video and we'll play some Toyota automatics and we'll all learn together because I have not done any of this before. Obviously, this isn't the way we normally do our videos. The priority actually hasn't been to make videos on these cars, so I've been repairing them every day. I pulled this valve body out yesterday afternoon. Never having done it before, there was a few little hidden surprises under the bottom side of this valve body, or sorry, the top side, one that's in the car. These springs and this piston all shot out at me when I dropped the valve body. This little detent also came out. Interestingly though, this detent should have a spring in it, which is this spring. Unfortunately, I'm pretty confident someone's actually had the valve body out of this car before. I say that for a few reasons, mainly because the piston actually has hand engraved letters on it, and I'm pretty confident that Toyota wouldn't have done that. And I think as a result of them pulling the valve body out last time, they've lost that spring. I thought I had lost it, but I spent a solid hour and a half searching just this area for it and came up short. So I put a call out on Facebook last night if anyone had a Toyota Auto lying around or a scrap car. Southern Highlands Smash Repairs actually had a car out the back there and they let me go and pick this detent and the whole valve body out of that this morning. I did bring the valve body over hoping to use some more parts from that. There is a shift solenoid that I'm pretty confident also has a problem, but we can change that with the valve body back in the car. You still need to undo it and drop it out, but you don't have to pull it all the way out again. So we're going to reassemble this, put some fluid in it, put a new filter in it and a new pan gasket. Then we're going to take it for a run. It may or may not completely fix the problem, but it's definitely going to be better with that spring in it. I'm not exactly sure what that detent does, but I can guarantee that it doesn't work if there's no spring in there. So we're going to get this back together. And unfortunately, Toyota Australia didn't have any of these solenoids in stock, so I've had to order it from overseas. So I'm probably looking about a week before we see that. So fair chance we're actually not going to film this being completely finished and running, but I'm hoping to get it back together today to a point where we can at least drive it around and check out any other issues. The other problem we've got also is there's O-rings between the valve body and the bottom of the transmission case. Those O-rings are the same thing. Toyota don't have them in stock. I guess kind of a Benny hack / tip. This is like a short-term repair tip also. I wouldn't recommend doing this as a long-term. These O-rings have been soaking in brake fluid. Obviously, for anyone that's not aware, brake fluid swells rubber, especially if it's not brake fluid rated. So these O-rings that were hard as a rock yesterday are now soft and supple as if they were almost new again. Like I said, I definitely wouldn't recommend this for a long-term fix, or if you got a really nice car or whatever, but it's going to get us out of trouble. I do have these O-rings coming with the valve body, with the shift solenoid, so I probably will actually pull the body out again. But I more just want to see if that spring fixes the main issue, or if we do have to change that shift solenoid. So we'll smack this valve body back in, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of Benny raging because I need 2 hands to hold about 17 things in, all while lifting the valve body in. So it's going to be a fun time for everyone to laugh at me. Nailed it. Sure, there's probably a special tool for doing this, but I'm just going to use a screw jack or a twisty stand. It's called a screw jack. People told me it was called that. I call it a twisty stand. Another little tip to help line the valve body up. I've got these bolts, they're quite long M6 bolts that I've just rounded the head, or cut the head off and rounded the shank. Screwed them into 3 spots in the transmission case. Just literally a couple of threads in, finger tight, just to locate the valve body while we put it in. It'll be heaps easier just sort of sitting on those studs and then sliding it up and putting a couple of bolts in to get it located correctly. Also, we've put these O-rings between the valve body and the transmission body. Just be super mindful when you go to put the valve body back in that they are there. If for whatever reason that these fall out during the assembly process, you'll most likely have no oil pressure either in or out of the valve body. So depending on what that does, you could lose pressure to your clutch packs, and then you're going to burn your transmission up real quick if you don't have correct fluid pressure to where it needs to be. So we'll smack this valve body in with the aid of our twisty stand, and we'll be good to go. Test fitting.
What are you actually checking?
Just making sure that it's all fairly smooth to put back in there. Nailed it. Toyota sucks on this idea. Generally pretty good. This particular setup, do not like. Oh, see, there's going to be Benny rage. I can feel it. Oh, told ya. This is probably how the previous dude put the springs in the wrong spot, because he also had rage. Make sure you clean these thoroughly. Anything transmission, especially automatic transmission, it's a hydraulic system, so any dirt, dust, hair, anything like that's not going to do it any favours at all. So got to be super careful to get any sort of contaminants out of it. You also got to remember which spring goes where, and I've now forgotten. So I'm going to go to the trusty old internet. Some pretty handy videos on YouTube about Toyota automatics, as I learnt yesterday, and I took some screenshots from some of them. I'll endeavour to dig up the channel that we stole this information from and give them a bit of a shout out in due course. Red spring inside piston, white spring by itself. Full disclosure, I know nothing about automatic transmissions, so if it doesn't work, you've totally got me to blame for it. Yeah, we're going to drop the springs again. Can't wait. Yes, I'm going to clean them again because my pocket's full of lint. and not the good chocolatey type of lint. And by pistons, I mean wrist. So love this. At least it hasn't exploded and hit me in the face yet. What did they say in that shampoo commercial? Won't happen overnight, but it will happen. Man, this is not the best design, hey? Because every video I've seen about these transmissions, the person stripping them has them on a bench upside down, conveniently. I can't imagine why that'd be. I can still see that all of our O-rings are in place in our transmission body, so they haven't dropped down onto the valve body. So I'm pretty confident to just keep raising this valve body back into the transmission. Probably should have paid more attention to where they went when I pulled them out. That actually wasn't quite as painful as I thought it was going to be. Twisty stand helped. It's a twisty stand, not a jack screw or a screw jack. Twisty stand. Now that we've got the valve body in, we've just nipped it up with the gun. I'm going to check them all by hand. We've just got a little quarter ratchet. You don't need any more tension than that. There probably is a torque spec. I'd say it's going to be like 10 Newton meters or something, because they're all just M6 bolts. But they are high grade steel, so obviously they're designed to have some tension hung off of them. I'm literally just working left to right while going up the transmission or up the valve body. There's also one M5 bolt that we've still got to put back in, which holds the transmission temp sensor in, I believe. I'm not sure if it's a fluid temperature sensor or if it's a valve body temperature sensor. But we'll definitely remember to put that sucker back in, because otherwise we'll possibly have a transmission fault. Now that everything's mounted up, just going to plug our loom back in. Toyota's very kindly designed this so that it can really only be installed one way. There's also some nice little wire hangers on some of the solenoid brackets, which stop the loom hanging off the bottom of or sitting on the bottom of the transmission pan. Just put our transmission temp sensor back in as well. Neat little bracket. It holds it in, just a little horseshoe shape. And it just locates it in the valve body. It's a little bit hard to see once it's in there, but trust me, it works. New transmission filter. These are the long bolts that I cut the heads off to make our valve body locating pins. Obviously they are from the second transmission that we are not using. So we'll keep those. As I mentioned before, I may have to pull a valve body back out of this, but I just want to get it back and up and running today to suss it out and see if that missing detent spring was the root cause of the problem, or if the shift solenoid, which I've ordered, is the main cause. The symptoms with this transmission, it flares from the second to third gear change, and it's quite jerky and can have quite a hesitation. I reached out to some transmission guys and they kind of all came back with different theories, but after I jumped on YouTube, and I don't recommend annoying mechanics and then jumping on YouTube and saying this isn't what you said it was. I've just been kind of swinging for the fence and getting different answers from everyone, but I did come across a guy in America with a RAV4 that has the exact same issues that we're having, and he changed this, I believe this solenoid here. After he's changed that one, basically the problems have gone away in conjunction with a fluid flush. So we've fitted a new transmission filter. We're going to put a new pan gasket on, and we're going to put new fluid in this. I'm going to probably just discard the fluid when this shift solenoid comes, because putting new fluid in just on a service fill only replaces about a half of what the actual transmission actually holds, because the torque converter you can't drain in a service. The only way you can drain that is if you actually remove it from the transmission and dump it out. So regardless of if we fill the transmission up today and then have to drain it again, it's not going to damage the transmission by putting more fluid in it. If anything, it's just going to water down the dirty fluid that's already in here. with new fluid. So basically the more changes we do, the better the fluid quality is going to be. Alternatively, you can just pull one of the cooler lines off and run it and fill it while it's running and just pumping out. But doing it that way, you can potentially use a lot more fluid. I mean, it definitely guarantees that the fluid's super clean, but realistically, you probably want to use about 20 litres of fluid before you get it spot on, and we just don't have the volume of fluid here to actually do that. I think we've got about 6 litres or something to put through this. We'll fill it up today, and then hopefully when this shift solenoid comes, we'll whack it in. But I think I'm really hopeful that putting that detent and spring back in correctly, we're going to have a bit of a win, but I'm not super confident because it seems like a pretty minor thing to cause fairly bad shifting conditions. So we'll throw this pan back on with the new gasket and put some oil in it and go for a road test. The battery obviously leaks in this car too. See how there's rust here? It's probably had a paint chip and then battery acid's got on it. Just looks like battery acid corrosion because it's like real powdery rust. Oh yeah, I do love a good bit of cork under the nail. Oh, and again, please sir, can I have some more? Most Toyota and a lot of automatic transmissions in general run these little magnets in the pan. It's to catch obviously any metallic particles that are in the fluid. All too often I used to see when I was doing transmission services as an apprentice that these magnets never made it back in. So it's I would put them back in. If the manufacturer's gone to the effort of putting them in the pan, it makes sense to put them back in. They do generally get covered with a super fine metallic paste. Just hit them with a bit of carby cleaner or brake cleaner and then give them a bit of a wipe off. So we've, I mean this rag's pretty well soaked in brake and carby cleaner anyway, so give it a bit of a wipe off and more or less good to go. Clear. Oh yeah, it does that when the battery's been flat. Road trip time. I'm still not happy with it. Like I'll definitely put that shift solenoid in it, but we're at least 50% better than we were. Like it was unbearable. I'd be already raging by now the way it was the other day. Still feels hot. So we've got our Lexus off the hoist. We've taken it for a bit of a road test. I mentioned before that we're only kind of 10 minutes away from the fire zone. We're now here in state forest. We're not on private land. Actually, that's one thing I do want to mention is don't go on people's land and just take photos of their burnt stuff. Like I find that pretty disrespectful. We deliberately haven't filmed anyone's properties. They're already grieving. Everyone's suffering. The community's not feeling great at the moment. People are always just going around walking on people's properties. I saw a guy on Facebook yesterday posting photos of people's burnt cars, entering their properties without permission. So yeah, I'd highly recommend to not just wander onto people's properties to take photos and go through their stuff. It's pretty disrespectful and it's not helping anyone at this point. But yeah, enough of that. We've come out to, we're just between Buxton and Balmoral at the moment. It's about 10 minutes from BCW. We're just 5 meters off the road and you can see how badly this is burnt. And this area is actually pretty good. We've filmed a little bit coming in here that we'll probably cut away to, and it's black sticks. Like these trees, the tops are still, even some of these ones here, the tops are still green, so they haven't been burnt as badly as some of the stuff we've driven through. Most of the stuff that's really bad had housing in it, so obviously we didn't film any of that sort of stuff. Yeah, because there's a lot of destruction in this area. In saying that though, Balmoral does still exist. There's been a lot of media reports saying that it's pretty much wiped off the map. That's totally not true. The fire shed's still standing. There's tons of homes in the main street. There's tons of homes in all the back streets. So it's definitely not as bad as the media is reporting. But on the same token, this area is suffering. This is my community. I've lived here my whole life. Yeah, we decided to start doing these cars to help out the local community, but we've now found that we've had cars go up to 300 kilometres in each direction of BCW, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, we're just trying to do something different, and cars is what we know. We're car people, so we're out here just trying to make a difference and trying to lift the spirits in the community. But yeah, every time I come out here, it's pretty emotional. Like, this is the second massive fires that I've been through personally. In 2002, my grandfather lost a lot of stuff. His whole shed went. He lost a lot of cars, and yeah, the 50 Buick I used to have, I actually bought because he lost his one. So we yeah, cruised around in that together a bit. So that was pretty cool and pretty special to share that together. But yeah, just want to show you guys ground zero, and hopefully you guys can get a bit of a feel as to why we're doing this. And it's not about the media and the attention that we're getting. We're really only sort of broadcasting some of these builds to spread some awareness. And on the same token, we did ask before if anyone's got cars. Anyone that needs cars, reach out to us too, because we've always got more coming and going. Like, we've got one turn up today, got one coming tomorrow. The Lexus is probably going to go in the next couple of days. The road test has actually been pretty good so far too, going back to the car. It's definitely shifting a lot better with new fluid, and I think actually swelling those O-rings using brake fluids, giving it better line pressure, or better pressure in general in the transmission. So it's not 100%, but it's definitely a lot better than when I first got it. So I'm really hoping that shift solenoid will sort it right out. But we're out here having a look around, not sticky beaking, just trying to let you guys know what it's about. To give, I guess, the American viewers a scale of the size of the bushfires in New South Wales at the moment. Last time we looked at the burnt land mass, it was about 6 times bigger than the California wildfires. I've seen some comments going, oh, I hope it doesn't get as big as that. We surpassed that 6 times over, so not that we're trying to be the biggest and the best, but to give you guys a scale of just how bad the destruction and devastation is. And that's New South Wales alone. That's not counting South Australia, Victoria, Queensland or WA. So we're definitely on fire at the moment. The worst has passed our local area for the moment. We do still have a little bit of a threat southwest to us, but that's really only going to come back through this area if we get another dramatic wind change. As I mentioned earlier, the tops of the trees are still pretty good here, which is both good and bad. It means the trees are currently alive, but what it also means is there's potential for the fire to come back through the top of the trees. Obviously in this particular area, a lot of the undergrowth was burnt, but going back towards Balmoral more so, you can see that the fire's gone through the forest, both on the undergrowth and through the canopies, and we've just left with black sticks. So that particular area is pretty safe, but when you come out to this area and there's still tons and tons of leaf in the trees, it's definitely still cause for concern, and there's no time to be complacent. But we're pretty happy with the car, pretty happy with just how the community's going. It's definitely going to be a long road to recovery, but we're feeling good about it, and we're helping some people get back on the road. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.